Alrighty, folks. Hello and welcome back. It is Tuesday, September 24th, and we are thrilled to continue on with our US Cyber Games Draft Experience series of events. For those of you that didn't catch me yesterday, my name is Brad Wolfenden. I'm the Director of Cyber Sports here at Cat's Eye Play Cyber, and I am thrilled to introduce our guest speakers for this morning. But before we get there, just kind of wanted to give you a reminder of all of the things that we have planned for this week. You all are here this morning for our second of 3 career lunch and learn sessions. Today's theme is all on scholarships and funding. Just like the rest of this week, we're really focusing on internships and apprenticeships, entry-level jobs, kind of that early career process. As many of you, part of the US Cyber Games program, are really kind of navigating that aspects of diving headfirst into finding your first job or maybe finding that first promotion. So tomorrow we will continue with the lunch and learn session, 11:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then tonight, we will come back to you live from 8:30 until 9:30 p.m. Eastern time with our evening chats on cyber careers. And tonight is all a panel featuring folks from SANS GIAC, from the Last Mile Education Fund, from Scholarships for Service, and from the DoD Cyber Skills Academy. Now, without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing some of our partners and sponsors from Battelle, Mrs. Sarah Shumick and Chris Issing. I am thrilled to welcome them onto the stage for a chat about cyber internships, skills, and application tips. Chris, Sarah, welcome to the party. Thanks for being here. It is
Hi,
all
thanks for
you.
having us.
Hello, thank you.
Absolutely. Take it away, friends, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let me share my screen with you all. Brad, maybe you can make sure that that's working the way that it's supposed to.
Looks great on my end.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for having us, Brad and Jess and everyone from US Cyber. Happy to be here today to talk with you a little bit about Battelle. And we've got Chris Issing, who might be a familiar face to many of you. So we'll just get this party started. This is really what we came to talk with you about today. We've got kind of a packed agenda, but certainly if there's time at the end, we want to make sure that we answer any questions that you might have. So we'll tell you a little bit about ourselves, about Battelle and what Battelle is as an organization. Chris is going to talk as much as he can talk about the work that we do here in cyber specifically. And then really want to dive into sort of the meat and potatoes of what we are looking for in candidates when we recruit, especially in the reverse engineering and vulnerability research space. And then finally, we've got some fun, I think they're fun, resume tips and tricks and just some general interview tips, as we know that you are all likely looking for early career opportunities or internships or co-ops as well. So we will get going. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Sure, yeah. I'm Chris Issing. I'm a reverse engineer at Battelle. I've been at Battelle for a little over 7.5 years, mostly doing reverse engineering and vulnerability research. I've got a lot of experience in a bunch of different platforms, IoT devices, mobile devices, and now currently vehicles. I was also a member of the US Cyber Team Season 1, and I just really love the atmosphere that we have here.
Awesome. Thank you. And there you see Chris pictured in a banner featuring Chris. So we love that picture. We use it every chance we get. But my name is Sarah Shumick, and I'm the university relations person here at Battelle, aka the intern lady. And I've been here for a little over 2 years, came from higher education, didn't know anything at all about cyber prior to starting. And it's been through, partnering with Chris and his team that I've really learned just a ton about what you all do and how important it is to the security of our nation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, if I could stop you there, I should mention I'm also the intern coordinator at Battelle. So
that's right. That's right. So Chris does intern coordinations at the Chantilly office. We've got a couple of different locations for cyber internships, and Chantilly is one of them. So thank you, Chris. This is a little bit about Battelle. So a lot of people, when we tell you like, we're from Battelle, you might be going, I don't know what that is, or what's Battelle, or is it Battle? Like, I don't even know how to pronounce that name. And that's okay. So we'll tell you a little bit more about us. We have been around for almost a century now. And we started based on the idea of our founder, Gordon Battelle, to create a research and development organization really to use science and technology for the betterment of society. So that's what we're all about. And we primarily do research and development in 3 buckets, if you will. So national security is a big portion of the work that we do. That's where cyber sits, along with our folks in ground systems working on armored vehicles. We have a Suburni team working on chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear explosives defense. We do defense and materials solutions and a number of other things. And then environment, a lot of the work that we do in the environment sector is focused on climate remediation and sustainability. We also do a lot with like PFAS, if you've ever heard of those forever chemicals. You look up Battelle and PFAS, you'll find a lot of great stuff out there. And then we manage things like the National Ecological Observatory Network, which is funded by the National Science Foundation, conduct research in the Arctic, pursuing research in the Antarctic. So a lot of really cool stuff that happens in that space as well. And then finally, health, where we focus in public health, clinical research, non-clinical research, medical devices and solutions, do some vaccine developments and things like that. So just a wide variety of work that we are into. And then finally, national laboratory management. Battelle actually manages 9 of the 17 national laboratories, most of which are owned by the Department of Energy. So highly recommend the labs, as well as you're seeking opportunities for research through internships and co-op rotations as well. Just some interesting things. I know Chris is probably going to touch on like rakes and Can Protect that you see down there in the 2015 to 2020 buckets, but some of the things that we've been up to over the last century, one of our very early contracts was working with Reynolds Wrap to on aluminum foil. We've also helped in innovations like the barcode and cruise control and fiber optics and the CD. So a lot of really cool commercial innovations that we've had a hand in throughout the years. And then finally, I like to point out we are a nonprofit organization. We're actually the largest independent nonprofit research and development organization in the world. But nonprofit doesn't mean that we don't make a profit. So we do about 12 billion annually in revenues. You can see a lot of great numbers there. But what we love to do with our profits is to give them back and invest them in philanthropic investments within the communities where we live and work, and do a ton of STEM education outreach as well. So last year, we're fortunate enough to impact almost 1.8 million kids across the US through STEM education outreach, and gave back a little over $20 million. So some cool stuff there that I just like to point out. And then if you're curious to learn more about the national labs, this is the portfolio that we manage. As I mentioned, all except for one is owned by the Department of Energy. So that NBAC, that National Biodefense Analysis and Countermeasures Center, that's actually through the Department of Homeland Security. But the rest are DOE labs, where they're working on a lot of really cool stuff. And I will turn it over to Chris now to chat with you more about cyber. And Chris, just let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide, and I'll advance that for you.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll be giving an overview about specifically the cyber portion of Battelle. So next slide. So Battelle is actually pretty unique. Well, their cyber division is unique in the sense that we do the full spectrum of cyber. So we're starting from the silicone level, and we're going all the way up to what users interact with every day. So we have teams analyzing circuit boards to look and see if the board was counterfeit or tampered with. We have teams that are doing some hardcore hardware reverse engineering. So they're looking to side channel attacks, different ways of glitching boards to get it to skip instructions. We also, where I live, is more in the firmware reverse engineering analysis. So this is pulling apart the actual code on a device, hunting for bugs, hunting for ways that the developers made mistakes, and then looking to exploit those. And then, of course, we have RF engineers who are doing some crazy magic to come up with unique ways to interact with these devices. And so we have over like 280 experienced engineers through a huge range of different backgrounds, applied math to linguists, to find out different data. Sorry. And yeah, so we just have a bunch of different backgrounds that all work together for the same common goal. And because Battelle Cyber is under that national security division, or we do a lot of government contracted work. So over 90% of our staff is cleared. Next slide. So, like I said, a lot of our work is government contracts and it's classified, but we do have some public products that we can talk about. One is Ravenstar. It's a ultra wideband technology. It basically allows us to send crazy amounts of RF data very far. And also one cool feature of it is jam resistant. So I've actually got to see this live throwing one of our capabilities and not being able to jam it. So it was able to go all the way through. Another one is Cam Protect. So we do a lot of vehicle work where we're trying to protect the vehicle's internal network. And the CAN protocol is not a secure protocol. So we've done a lot of work to create essentially what's a firewall for the internal network of vehicles. So we can determine if a cyber attack has been thrown at a vehicle. And we use a lot of monitoring and AI and ML to determine, okay, was this actually a cyber attack or is this what the car is supposed to actually function like? And another public product that my team uses a lot is our Battelle rakes, which is basically the first step that we use whenever we get a new tasking. This device allows us to take high quality imaging through multimodal. So it has regular picture, it has shortwave and high wave IR, and being able to layer those images, we can analyze and follow traces. We can determine what chips are on a device, and it really speeds up our initial process of when we're getting a new physical device to look for hardware and software bugs. Next slide. So another unique thing about Battelle is we have what's called a Battelle Cyber Academy. This is basically a course taught by the leaders at Battelle in different aspects. So inside reverse engineering, I specifically have taught the debugging. We go through different static analysis, dynamic analysis, fuzzing, vulnerability research. So where are bugs usually found? How can we automate finding bugs? We teach a course on embedded hardware. So how can we initially solder on pins to get access to hardware to then leverage that for our software vulnerability research? We go through networking. How can we communicate with these devices over, a layer 2 or layer 3 communication? Kernel driver development. So we talk about how you can interact with the device on a kernel level. Machine learning. I know machine learning and AI is a popping new thing that's happening. We go teach a little bit about machine learning and how we can use that for offensive research. Side channel analysis goes along with the hardware reverse engineering. How can we determine information through different avenues? Lean Mean Software is our for development class where we teach how can you write good quality code. And then we also go through mobile because a lot of what we do is on that mobile level. Next slide.
Okay, I'll chat a little bit about the internship program as a whole at Battelle, and then we'll get back to cyber too. So we have a pretty robust internship program. I don't know how long it's been running, but I know that I have data that I can access that goes back to like 1977. So we've been around a while. The internship program has been around a while as well. Here's just a little bit more about what you can expect as an intern at Battelle. We have different sites. So as Chris mentioned, he's based out of Chantilly. We've got a great group of interns that are like fully immersed, I would say, in the cyber culture at Chantilly and get to enjoy a lot of the cyber culture things. I don't know, Chris, if you have a slide on that later, but we can certainly talk about what it's like to work in cyber. Jeans and t-shirts, like all the fun stuff that you all do. But my primarily what I want to tell everyone here is that as an intern at Battelle, we put you on real projects, right? We don't give you pet projects that then go on a shelf after you are done with us. We give you real stuff to work on. Sometimes that's client-facing projects. Sometimes we put you through for government clearance and you get to work on the really fun stuff that I don't know about, but that's okay. And then sometimes also we have you working on what's called IRAD, which is Independent Research and Development. That's a really cool program. Chris, I know you've participated in that. That's a program here at Battelle where if you have an idea and you pitch that idea, you can actually get funded by Battelle to pursue your own research areas of interest. And so a lot of times those are adjacent to, the work that's happening anyway, and it might lead to patents and other things. But to suffice it to say that we have you working on real stuff. We also do some different social and professional development and give back opportunities as well that you can get involved in. And those range from, lunch and learns with our, president and CEO to some volunteer events here locally, and then as well as some different trivia nights, happy hours, virtual trivia, things like that. This was our intern class this year, just to show we have a wide variety of students coming from all different backgrounds and universities. This year we supported a little over 100 interns. They represented 52 different colleges and universities across the country and had about 35 different areas of study as well, with computer science being number one. So I'd say a lot of our opportunities right now are in the computer science cyberspace. And then here's some current internships and co-ops that we have open right now. The deadline is looming, I would say. If you are interested in being a co-op with us, that means that you would take the spring semester off of college classes and you would work full-time with us either in Chantilly or in Columbus, where we're headquartered. So there's a reverse engineering vulnerability research co-op in both locations, and then there's a cyber trust and analytics co-op at our Columbus location as well. Looking for summer interns too. So those are full-time opportunities as well. We do have a housing stipend. So these are paid internships. We do give a housing stipend to students who are relocating more than 50 miles away from home and school to take on the opportunity. Chris, I'm going to give it back to you because you can do this a lot better justice than I ever would. I just know what to look for on a resume, which we'll get to in a second.
Sure, yeah. So when we're looking to get new interns or full-time people in reverse engineering vulnerability research, we're looking for skills. We're looking that they've used binary ninja, Ghidra, IDA Pro, some sort of disassembler, decompiler, have been comfortable doing debugging with GDB or any other debugger. We do like assembly. Now, you're not usually writing assembly, but reverse engineering, you need to understand assembly along with the decompiled code. So whether that's x86 or ARM or MIPS, some sort of assembly. Hardware knowledge is nice. A lot of times we get a device, and before we can even look at the software, we have to figure out how to get the software off the hardware. So any way of UART or serial connection, soldering, we're looking for that. I would say a majority of the time is spent creating tools to automate reverse engineering, and a lot of the times we use Python for that as a quick and easy way to set up a script. We're looking for C and C++ developers as well, because we need to do some low-level dev sometimes. And then, of course, CTFs. CTFs are big. So as long as you're participating in CTFs, that's a good thing. Specifically, the reverse engineering, binary exploit, forensics, crypto categories. We're looking for big CTF fans.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
And some resources.
Chat about this a little bit. We can probably screenshot this maybe and share it out with the group because the links obviously won't work live here. But
yeah. So some good resources if you're just getting into this. Trail of Bits has a great web page talking about CTFs. What are the different categories? What type of tools to get you started? It's very introductory, but it's a great way to get your feet into CTFs. And once you start playing some CTFs, check out our CTF challenges. So on our Battelle website, we have several, I don't know how many, I think maybe like 17 or something, challenges, all ranges from beginner to some extremely hard ones that even I struggle with. Another good website is Microcorruption. So this is a web-based platform that goes through a embedded system, so it's a lot more similar to the embedded type of work we do, where it's not our standard x86 that you have to debug and exploit. Crackmes.1 is a great repo of reverse engineering challenges. The goal is to break some sort of license check or something like that in a controlled environment. So it's a great way to practice reverse engineering in a practical setting. And CTF time. CTF time is basically the hub of all CTFs. So that's where you can check any weekend what CTFs are going on, jump right in. They've got write-ups as well, so you can start, looking at past solves, or if you get stuck on a challenge after the CTF is over, there's a good chance the write-up will be posted, and you get to read where you made mistakes, where you can improve next time. Lastly, I would recommend ROP Emporium. ROP Emporium is a great set of challenges through teaching one of the most popular techniques, return-oriented programming used in exploitation. One thing great about ROP Emporium is it actually has the same challenge written for 4 different architectures. So as I said before, Battelle really is in that mobile and like embedded space. ROP Emporium has challenges in x86, which is what your typical computer uses, but also challenges in MIPS and ARM, which is more what these embedded systems that we look at day to day use.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So we'll scoot right over to some resume tips. These are very general, but some tips that I would offer, and I won't go through each and every one of these, but most important thing on your resume is like, let it be a reflection of your experiences, your skill sets, your interests. Like, what do you want the employer to know about you, and what makes you a really good fit for the role that you've applied for? That's really all it is, right? It's what's helping recruiters like me and the folks on the team here connect the dots and see that, have you used GDB? Have you used MIPS? Like, have you done CTFs? That's what we're looking for. So it's really an extension of what you've done that makes you an excellent fit for the internship or the early career opportunity that you've applied for. Consistency is key. I'll just note, like, I look at a lot of resumes. I don't know how many I've looked at in my life at this point, but it's quite a few. Some of the things that I see that stand out as like no-nos or just kind of nitpicky things, if I can, is dates. So if you're listing dates for your education, for an internship, for a project that you worked on, just make sure those dates are consistent. You can write August 1st, 2024, 3 different ways, right? You can spell out August 1st, 2024. You can write the numerical version. You can use the abbreviated version of August. So those things can catch the eye of a recruiter or a hiring manager, just not in a good way, if that makes sense. And then just make sure you have your contact information on there, right? An appropriate email address, somewhere we can get a hold of you if we want to chat with you for an internship or an interview. These are, I'll also highlight too, just for it is a pain. It is not fun, but your resume really should be slightly different for each job that you apply for, right? You're trying to connect the dots for the recruiters and the hiring teams to pick you for an interview. And a lot of times you're up against hundreds, sometimes thousands of other applicants. So taking that extra time to really put down what is important to include on that resume will pay off, I promise. If it's in the job description and you've done it, make sure it gets added to your resume. If you read something in the job description that reminds you of a project that you did or a team that you were on or something else, take the time to just add that to your resume, because if it reminds you of that, chances are the same thing for the employer side as well. And then lastly, save each version of your resume as your name and the job that you've applied for. And then that way, when the recruiter calls or the hiring team calls, you know which version of your resume they are looking at, which is super helpful. Some of those technical skills, make sure those are on there if you have them. If you put them on your resume as a technical skill, please be prepared to speak to those in the interview. That happened to me just the other day where I was interviewing a candidate. I had picked this candidate solely because of the technical skills they had listed on their resume. But when it came down to it and I asked them about how they've used these technical skills, they hadn't. So that was embarrassing for them, and it was not a great fit for us. And then, we ended the conversation pretty quickly. So just make sure that you can talk to them. CTFs, the more the merrier. If you love CTFing, we definitely want to talk to you, and add those things to your resume as well. And then finally, US Cyber Team. This happens occasionally too, right? Things move fast in your lives, and you need to make sure that you're adding those amazing things to your resume as they're happening. That's a real eye catcher on a resume if you can put that you're on the US Cyber Team. So definitely add that. Here's just kind of like a general format that you could follow. There's lots of AI tools out there now that can help you create your resume. So I say go for it. Kick Resume is a great one that I've heard students and other early career candidates using. I've not used it personally, but I've heard good things about it. So feel free to use technology and then just make it your own. All right, we'll get into the elevator pitch a little bit. This is you, right? This is you in a nutshell. So if you're going, and I can't take credit, like graphic design credit for this image, I think it's from like Google searching. But anyway, if you're going to a career fair, or maybe you're going to talk to some employers later this week at the draft day event, we've got some booths set up this week. Your elevator pitch is what you're conveying to employers about you and what has you interested in their company and what they do. So conciseness is key. Usually don't have to tell engineers to be concise, right? You guys kind of got that down. You all have that down, but really should be an extension of your resume. So again, conveying to employers who you are, what you care about, what interests you, in maybe a role that you found, and why, right? So could look like, my name is Sarah Shumick. I'm a third-year student studying computer science at George Mason University. I recently got involved in our competitive cyber organization, and I've been doing a ton of CTFs. I noticed that you have a reverse engineering internship. I'd love to talk to you more about that, right? Super concise, to the point, but definitely lets the employer know that like why you're here and what interests you. And then ask them what you really want to know, right? Practice it on friends. It's not always easy. It's a lot of times really awkward to go to those different networking events and career fairs. So definitely practice it with your friends. That won't hurt as well. Chris, do you have any advice on elevator pitches too, or like?
You've covered a lot. Yeah. Not anything extra.
Okay. It's awkward, but it's important.
Yeah.
All right. And then lastly, here's some tips to just ace that interview. So you've worked on your resume, you've got that really sharp, you've got your elevator pitch down, you've applied to the job, you got the call, right, that you're going to get an initial interview. Here's some tips that can help you in that as well. We use NACE a lot, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, to determine benchmarking for what employers really care about and what college career development centers are trying to prepare graduates for. So no surprise here, problem solving and communication and teamwork and collaboration, those are the top three, and that's what we look for as well. I would say anytime you're going into an interview, conducting research on the company is pretty important. Just a little bit of baseline research to understand what their mission is, what their values are, what do they care about, maybe some exciting things that have been in the news recently, things that you can talk with the interviewer about candidly, and just really, understanding who it is you're talking to is important as well. When you're answering those questions in an interview, and I think we have an example here too, using that STAR method can help to keep you on track. So this is something I think a lot of career development centers teach now, but was kind of newer to me as of a couple years ago when I started this role. So that STAR method, describing the situation you were faced with, the task you were given, the action you took, and then the end results as well. Last tip on this slide is to ask questions. It is equally as important what you care about as to what the employer cares about. So doing a little bit of digging and asking those questions that really matter to you and the things that you really want to know can go a long way in an interview. There's probably nothing worse than ending an interview by not asking any questions. I'm not saying you won't get an offer or that it won't work out for you, but it's much better if you can have a candid conversation and ask questions and just get to know the employer a little bit better that way. And Chris does a lot of interviews too. So if you have anything you would add here as well.
I have one in a couple slides later.
Okay, awesome. And here's just an example. So here's the question the employer asks is, give us an example of a time when you showed initiative and took the lead on a project. Most of the time, an answer that I get a lot is when it comes to those group projects in college. Everybody's worked on group projects. Everybody loves group projects. But so in this case, this is how we recommend answering that. By using the STAR method. So I was in a group project, I noticed that the team was kind of disorganized and we weren't meeting our deadlines. I stepped up and took the lead as kind of a project manager for the team, got everybody together, assessed what our needs were, and implemented deadlines to keep us on track. Assigned regular meetings and tasks to the group. And then at the end result, we completed our project on time. We got a really great grade in the class. So that's a decent example of a STAR method to answer that question.
Yep. And when it comes to technical questions, sometimes I'm going to ask, or we ask, hard technical questions that you might not know the answer to. That's okay. We kind of just want to see where you're at. We don't expect you to know all the answers. If you can just try and walk through the question to your best ability, that's what we're looking for. What we don't want you to do is start making up an answer or try to pass off something that you don't know at all. It's okay to just say you don't know, but this is what you think. Some questions will be open-ended. So I would ask, how would you hack this type of device? And it's really about as much detail as you can go into from every step. That makes it better. So instead of just skipping on saying, oh, I would hack it by, running this analyzer, go to every step. That's really important. And like Sarah said earlier, if you list a technology or skill on your resume, I will ask about it. We will ask about it. So be prepared to explain every single thing that you do put on your resume.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, this is just kind of cute. Like, I know that applying for jobs, internships, co-ops can produce a lot of anxiety, and just don't give up. You've got this. It's, practice makes perfect, so they say. So you will find the right opportunity for you. And if you're on the US Cyber team, I guarantee you've got a lot of really strong skill sets that employers like Battelle and others are looking for. So. And I will stop sharing for now. And I think we might have some questions as well.
We sure do. Yeah. Excellent job, Chris, Sarah. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And quite a few questions, actually. Some of them I know you've answered in our Zoom chat, but the audience can't see them. So I'll start with approximately how many interns do you look for the spring and the
Yeah, so I would say spring and fall for our co-ops is a little bit smaller. We typically take between 20 and 30 new students, not just cyber, mind you, like all organization wide. And then over the summer, we typically have about between 75 and 100 interns. This past summer, I think probably 15 to 20 of those were in cyber, specifically in one of the different cyber divisions.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That's quite helpful. Another one, do interns need a clearance in order to work with you?
You don't need a clearance coming in. I would say you need to be clearable, though. We will oftentimes put interns through the clearance process, depending on what projects we want them to work on.
Yep. But they don't necessarily, they don't necessarily need a clearance to start with, because part of my job is to find the projects that are classified and rip out pieces of it that the interns can do without knowing the big picture, while still being able to contribute to an important mission.
Fantastic. And I know for those of you on the line that aren't as familiar with the clearance process, finding an employer that's willing to help you with that is a massive bonus. And something that you should not take lightly. Certainly it's an arduous process, it's an expensive process, and not very many employers will offer that as part of a benefits package. So certainly consider that as you're applying for internships or entry-level jobs. That's a huge benefit there. Thank you. The next one that I'm seeing is Battelle FFRDC? And maybe you'll just explain to the audience what the difference is there.
I actually don't know what that acronym stands for.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Maybe we are. We're a federal contractor. Chris, do you know the answer to that one?
We are not an FFRDC. That's a federally funded research center or something like that. So that's like
Okay.
a John Hopkins APL or something.
Oh, gotcha.
We are not, but we are a federal contractor.
Awesome. 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 Another question from Discord. Any tips for people pivoting careers with no prior experience in cybersecurity other than something like certifications or CTFs?
Yeah, sure. I would say side projects. It doesn't matter what the side project is, as long as it's computer related. So, you don't have to be hacking stuff, just writing a little game or writing a calculator app. Um, Things like that is just getting into the programming mindset. And on top of that, I would say while doing that, make a blog. Talk about your journey into it. So the steps that you've been taking to learn, take note of everything that you've been doing. That's kind of what we want to see is, hey, this person, went from no experience and then designed this application and did it well enough that they can talk about their steps, their design choices. So I would say side projects of forward development and blogging your experience.
Phenomenal. And just to kind of add on to that, I know just personally in my career, having kind of moved into cybersecurity without a lot of experience, sharing a similar background with Sarah coming from the world of education, that don't underestimate the networking piece. I mean, even if you're entirely green, showing up for these kinds of virtual events, showing up for conferences, reaching out to folks on LinkedIn. We heard a little bit about this yesterday in our sessions on building your personal brand. And what that can look like, if you are a little bit more shy or introverted, reaching out via LinkedIn, after you've done a little bit of research on a potential point of contact or mentor saying, hey, I've been following your work. I love your research. I saw this article, made me think of you. Would love to find some time for us to chat for 10 or 15 minutes just about your career. So certainly don't underestimate the networking component of that. And it's really pretty accessible these days to find information through blogs, through YouTube channels, through Twitter or X or other Discord communities, and really start to kind of educate yourself on emerging technologies, industry trends. Chris and Sarah shared some phenomenal information on the skills that they're looking for, from a technical perspective and also from kind of an interpersonal skills perspective. So all of that is really good stuff. Sarah, did you have anything to add on the suggestions for folks that are transitioning into a career in cyber?
I don't know. I think that's all great.
Okay. I see 2 or 3 more, if you don't mind. What is the duration of your internship interview process? What does that kind of look like?
It's a 2-step interview process. So I showed those deadlines a little bit ago. We'll wait until the deadlines typically before we start to interview. The first step is a recruiter screen, either with myself or another member of the talent acquisition team, and then a second interview with folks like Chris and other engineers. And that's it for interns, right? They can typically make an offer right after those that second interview. For full-time candidates, it looks different. It just depends on the level of the position. A lot of times there's some coding challenges or other challenges that go along with it. Sometimes there's you need to make a presentation to walk the interviewers through how you worked through a certain challenge that we gave you. So it looks a little bit different depending on the level. But for interns and co-ops, just a 2-step interview process.
Very cool. That's helpful. Thank you. And the last question that I'm seeing right at the moment is, what do you suggest for those who are transitioning from a shorter program like a boot camp, both from kind of a positioning yourself, packaging your resume, and if they may not qualify for a traditional internship?
I'm not sure. It probably depends on the person and their background. If you're doing a boot camp, like you're fresh out of high school and you're doing a boot camp, that's different than someone who, maybe already has a bachelor's degree in a field that's not directly related to cyber, but then they're doing a boot camp and they've been doing CTFs for a long time just because they like it. So I would say, don't count yourself out and just highlight the right experience on your resume. And I think what Chris answered previously about career changers, I think all of that advice could apply in this situation as well.
No doubt about it. Well, folks, you have been excellent. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate your time this morning. As we're wrapping up here, certainly want to give both of you an opportunity for one last closing comment or tip or blog or YouTube channel that you love. Any closing thoughts from both of you?
From me, I'd say just apply, right? If you like what you heard today, don't waste your time and apply for the open roles that we have posted right now. We've got opportunities in Columbus and Chantilly, and that spring deadline is 2 days away. So,
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's if you like CTFs, which I think you do if you're watching this, what we do every day is basically a CTF. So join our team and play some real world CTFs.
That's awesome. And just having been fortunate to work with Chris in season 1 and Sarah over the past couple of seasons as Battelle has come on board as a sponsor, I am happy to stick my neck out there and vouch for their organization. Battelle has been phenomenal in every aspect of the sense of the word. Just, supporting the mission and vision of the U.S. Cyber Games program, providing opportunities for folks to kind of get their start in a career that's oftentimes a little bit intimidating. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sarah, not just for your support of the program, but for all you do for our community here in the world of cybersecurity. Folks, certainly encourage you all to find Chris and or Sarah in Brella. But Battelle has set up an exhibitor booth, a virtual exhibitor booth in Brella on the sponsor page. So check that out. I'm sure there are links in there to their upcoming opportunities for internships. As Sarah mentioned, the deadline for the spring internships is closing in just a couple of days. I think mid-October is what I saw for the summer internship deadline. So don't lose track of that. If you have questions about that, certainly reach out to them with Umbrella. As many of you know, there's opportunities to request some one-on-one time with either of them. And we'll have some time set aside midday over the rest of today and tomorrow for you to meet with them as well. They will be there on Thursday for our U.S. Cyber Team Draft Day in DC. So if you're local and want to come shake somebody's hand, we would love to see you on Thursday afternoon. Sarah and Chris, thank you for the excellent information. I know many of the audience members here today have tons of interest, not just in the work that you all do, but in the opportunities that you all offer. So really appreciate you joining us for Ignite this week.
So thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Take care.
See ya.
All righty, folks, and we are going to continue on with our morning presentations. And let me just check some chat to make sure I haven't missed anything. From what I'm seeing in Discord, everyone loves it when I use @here. Thank you for that feedback. No, but truly, I will take your comments to heart. I know folks are oftentimes multitasking and the pings can sometimes be distracting. So certainly not my intention. Really just looking to build some engagement within the Discord server. And of course, I see many of you chatting Umbrella as well. So thank you for being such wonderful audience members and staying engaged as we work through today's agenda. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and see how we're doing. All right, cool. And for my technical support team, we can go ahead and bring Dr. Berlin over whenever he's ready. With that, folks, just kind of wanted to give you a reminder of what we have going on the rest of today and then tomorrow. So first up, next on the screen will be Dr. Berlin. We will be welcoming Dr. Berlin onto the stage here in just a minute or two. And then tonight, I hope you'll come back. We have a phenomenal panel discussion coming up this evening. That'll kick off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern until 9:30 p.m. Eastern, moderated by Ben Crenshaw. He's one of our technical mentors here with U.S. Cyber Games program. He is the head of cyber education for Work Ed. And joining Ben on his panel, we have Maya Butler, a student recruitment specialist from the Last Mile Education Fund. We have Alice Smitley, the program director for the Cyber Service Academy from the DoD. We have Max Schuften, the director of mission and partnerships from SANS GIAC. And we have also joining us this evening, we have Sandra Cyphers, scholarships for service with the OPM office. So lots of wonderful content coming to you tonight. All of these organizations have been hands hand-selected based off of the opportunities that they provide to cyber-interested individuals to find funding and scholarships and other opportunities to help them pay for experience for education in the field. So with that, I would like to welcome Dr. Berlin to the stage. I see Dr. Berlin has joined us here in the live stream. Dr. Berlin will be joining us this morning for a conversation on Get Certified, Get Hired, claim cyber certification scholarships, and earn hands-on experience. So Dr. Berlin, whenever you're ready, you are welcome to turn on your camera and come off mute. We would love to welcome you on the stage.
Bradley, thank you very much. Let me make sure I got.
Excellent. I can see you just fine. Looks like you've muted yourself. I'm going to stop sharing, and you can have the screen whenever you're ready. Dr. Berlin, it looks like you might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Great. Now, how do I share?
Towards the bottom of the Zoom interface, you should see a kind of a green box with a upward facing arrow that says share. Yep, there you go. You found it. And Dr. Berlin, I'm going to turn off my video and my camera and my microphone, but I'll be in the background moderating questions. Over to you, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. And I'm still looking for my deck to populate.
I can see your deck just fine on my end. So
you can? Oh, good.
Yes, sir. Yep. Good to go.
So thank you very much. We're very excited to be here today. We're going to talk about the cyber job demand, both globally, nationally, but in particular here in Virginia. And then we're going to talk about how you can use the scholarships funded by the state to help you become job ready and get certified. So just trying to.
Looks like we still see your title slide, Dr. Berlin. I don't know if
Yeah,
you can scroll or hit next.
I'm trying to, there we go.
There we go. Yep, perfect.
So we're going to talk about the cyber talent gap here in Virginia and globally. What kind of certifications you can use to help you get jobs to fill that gap. And critical to that is expanding your cyber experience so that you can get hired by employers. And last but certainly not least is how can you fund all of this with scholarships? A little bit about me. I have over 25 years experience in helping adult learners transition their careers in cybersecurity. How do you become cybersecurity job ready? And what does it take to get employers to recruit you and then hire you? The cyber talent gap is growing, has been growing, continues to grow. Globally, it's quite significant. But in Virginia, in 2023, the Department of Homeland Security reported that there were over 61,000 cyber job openings in Virginia. However, fewer than 2,000 candidates were graduated by higher education institutions in Virginia. As a result, Virginia, seeking to maintain its leadership role in cyber employment, is funding a cybersecurity certification scholarship program and has contracted with SCIPP to help deliver this program to help fill the cyber talent gap. And you'll see on every slide, there's a QR code where you can claim your scholarship, find out more about it, and find out what you can do to qualify for it. And we'll be going into more detail as we move through the presentation. So what are the kinds of jobs that employers are trying to fill? The number one priority that employers face is preventing cyber attacks and cyber vulnerabilities. This is cyber risk management. This is the prevention side of cybersecurity, and that is the focus of these 7 cybersecurity certifications to help prepare people to become job ready to fight/prevent cyber attacks, ransomware, and so forth. Just recently in the news, a Lehigh Valley Health System faced ransomware attack, and they wanted a $5 million ransom, which Lehigh Valley refused to pay. However, as a result, Lehigh Valley now had to settle for $65 million in patient claims for lost data. So not preventing, not managing risk in cyber is very expensive. And these are some of the examples of positions that candidates who've been through our programs have gotten to help manage cyber risk. So who pursues cyber risk management jobs? There are 3 sources of individuals. There you have cyber pros already in cyber who want to advance into cyber risk management. You have individuals who are not in IT, who want to transition into cyber. And we have examples of individuals who have moved from education, from sales, from corrections, and leverage their prior knowledge and experience and transition that to a cyber position. And then, of course, you have IT professionals who want to transition into cyber. Here's an example of an individual who was a probation officer, non-IT, who transitioned into a cybersecurity analyst position in a major energy firm to help secure its energy information systems. So you can ask yourself, well, what does a probation officer have to do with cybersecurity, especially risk management? Well, probation officers face a lot of risk in their jobs. So they have to worry about controls, compliance, monitoring the behavior of their clients. And so they have a lot of risk management training as it relates to individuals who are making the transition out of the correction system. Employers recognize that. And so when this individual got certified and learned the NIST risk management framework process, he got this job. Now here's an IT auditor, someone who was in IT and earned the CCRP and the CISM and transitioned into a governance, risk, and compliance cybersecurity operations. So an IT auditor gets a lot of experience in assessing information systems. And as part of cybersecurity risk management, you have to assess the information system, identify the controls that should be in place that are missing or not properly implemented, and then come up with a remediation plan. So the IT auditor is a great example of someone who transitioned from IT into cyber. So how do you get hired? How do you get these cyber jobs? First, you need to become cyber job ready. Employers want experience. They're going to look at your resume to see, do you have the experience? These candidates were coached and leveraged their prior experience to show the relevance of that experience to cybersecurity risk management tasks. You need cyber career tools. You need help with your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your letters, your job interviews, phone screens. So this kind of coaching is necessary to help you get that job. And last but certainly not least, you need certifications. Certifications are the icing on the cake. You need all of these ingredients, but you still need the certifications because employers use those certifications to validate that you do have the experience, that you do have the capabilities. In the programs that we're offering with the state of Virginia, 7 certifications are available and scholarships are available for each of these certifications. And we'll talk in a few minutes about what those scholarships cover and how you get those scholarships, how you qualify for them, how you can claim them. Again, there's a QR code here that you can click on immediately and start getting that information. In addition, in Virginia in particular, the Department of Defense sector, the defense industrial base, must be compliant with DoD D8140. And these certifications help demonstrate that as a candidate in this sector, you are compliant with all the requirements of the DoD 8140. And these 5 of these certifications are mapped to the DoD 8140 requirements. The reason this is important is DoD is now requiring contractors to demonstrate that their employees are complying with DoD 8140 control requirements. And so if you don't demonstrate that, you lose your contract. So there's a lot of pressure on employers to find certified candidates who can meet the DoD 8140 requirements. In Virginia, there are over 20,000 DoD contractors facing this challenge, and the certification program helps prepare you for that sector. If you're coming out of the military, you can leverage your military occupational specialties to get a civilian cyber job. And so we work with candidates to make that transition. We've got two examples here, an MOS that has a cyber focus within the military and an MOS who does not have a cyber focus. And the challenge is, how do you leverage the military language, transition it so that a civilian cyber employer understands the relevance to the cyber jobs that they've got available. So this is an MOS of an information system security manager that shows you how you transition the tasks and the skills into civilian tasks and skills. This is a cryptological technician, analyst, and it shows you how to leverage those skills, those military skills, into civilian skills. This is the kind of coaching students in these certification programs get to help them make that transition to civilian cyber jobs. So how do you get cyber job ready, and how do you find that job? Well, first step is to get those 7 cyber certs. And you want to learn from cyber practitioner instructors who are working in the field, who can share with you what they're looking for when they hire candidates. You need hands-on experience. So this 100% online program provides hands-on virtual cyber labs where you complete projects that are relevant to the target jobs you're going after. You learn how to leverage your military and civilian risk management experience. And last but certainly not least, you build your professional network. Networking is a critical component to finding that cyber job. And our linkages with ISC2 chapters, ISACA chapters, ISSA chapters, and LinkedIn cyber groups help you to start building your cyber professional network. The projects that you'll complete in these certification programs, there are over 70 projects, and they include risk management projects such as your system security plan, security assessment report. And when you're interviewed for a job, you'll be able to, this will be your portfolio of projects that you can demonstrate to an employer. Here's what I did. But when you're asked, well, how did you do it? How did you perform these tasks and produce these projects? You will be able to answer those questions. And all of these come out of the NIST risk management framework, which is one of the basic tools for achieving cybersecurity risk management. In terms of your cyber career tools that you need to do a cyber resume upgrade. How do you make up a resume that showcases your experience? How do you upgrade your LinkedIn profile so recruiters will see you? And one of the ways of doing that is getting an employer recommendation from a practitioner faculty member in the program who's working for a major employer such as CACI or Booz Allen or GDIT. That kind of recommendation makes you stand out in the job market. And then certainly your cyber job interview prep. What kinds of questions will you be asked in the interview? How do you leverage your certifications and your lab experience to get the job? So the Ideal Cyber program, the Ideal Cyber certification program, helps you, first of all, prepare for the cybersecurity certifications. It helps you develop test-taking skills so you pass that exam the first time. You don't want to retake that exam. You want a program, not a cram program, but a program that makes sure you're ready for that exam. You want to work with certified instructors who have office hours to mentor you. You want the career coaching. You want the labs, most importantly, very importantly, you want the 100% scholarships. And the QR code we have here will help you determine if you qualify for 100% scholarship to cover all the costs for your certifications, including your exams. Those are part of the process. So your full scholarship will cover the tuition for your program. your exam vouchers, your cyber lab projects, and your cyber career tools. To date, over 90% of the candidates who've applied have qualified for these full scholarships. So if you want to find out how to get a scholarship for Virginia residents, you can use this Virginia application. The maximum scholarship you can get for all 7 certifications is over $30,000 per candidate. If you're not in Virginia, then you want to apply for the National Cyber Scholarship opportunity for all 7 certifications. And the maximum amount you can qualify for here is over $20,000. Again, when you set up the application, you'll set up an interview with a cybersecurity career architect who can help you determine what you qualify for and also answer all of your questions about what it takes to succeed. The first step in starting this process is completing your cyber EQ. The cyber EQ is the SCIPP tool for determining exactly your cybersecurity readiness assessment. So you complete this tool. There's this QR code here for you to start. It takes about 15 minutes. And when you meet with your interviewer, they will review the results of your cyber EQ and tell you where you can start, which certification you should start with, how far you can go. So if you're entry level, there's an entry level path using the CC certification as a starting point. If you're more advanced, there are more advanced certifications such as your CISSP, your CISA, your CISM. And again, when you complete your cyber EQ assessment, it will tell us and tell you where you should start in the certification path and in your next step in your cyber career. So again, you have first step is your cyber EQ, and then you have 2 scholarship applications for Virginia students. Complete the Virginia student application, and for national students, complete your national application. If you have any questions, please email us at academics@skippinternational.org. If you apply by September 30th, you can get Cyber Month support. You'll get a response in 72 hours. You'll get a reservation for a course in Cyber Month, and you'll get a guaranteed cyber job interview. We have a webinar coming up on October 10th to help you prepare for the CISSP. It'll tell you what it takes to qualify for the CISSP. We have 6 clinics for CISSP exam prep that we offer to the general public. When you sign up for this, you can get the recordings of the other 5 clinics and go through them. And then we have an October 17th webinar on how to get your job in cybersecurity. And we do that in combination with the Hampton Roads Workforce Development Council in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And so we're excited to have more people help us fill the cyber talent gap in Virginia and nationwide. We're eager to answer any questions you might have. So I'll see what questions our moderators have uncovered for us.
Dr. Berlin, this has been fantastic. I hadn't been familiar with all of the offerings and opportunities that you make available to folks pursuing a career in cybersecurity, and the information you've shared is just absolutely phenomenal. So first and foremost, thank you for that. One of the questions from the audience is just a clarification on whether or not these opportunities are for U.S. citizens only or for folks that are based in the U.S.
Well, it depends on which scholarship you apply for. If you're applying for Virginia, you don't. First of all, you do not have to be a citizen. We have green card holders who have gotten scholarships. So they have to reside in Virginia. I know there are a list of requirements. You have to have a high school diploma, for example. Again, it doesn't have to be a Virginia high school diploma. But when you schedule your appointment, when you click on the QR code and schedule an appointment, all of the application requirements will be available. And in fact, if you request it, you can get the application portal emailed to you, so you could do an e-application. Which would fill it. If you want to talk to somebody, definitely schedule an appointment to do that.
Yeah.
If you're not in Virginia, we do have the national scholarships, and they are available actually worldwide. So anyone can participate in those. And what's
Wow.
not mentioned here is the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has approved all these certifications for the Weems list. So military veterans who want to use their GI Bill benefits outside of Virginia, if they don't qualify for the full scholarship inside Virginia, they can use their GI Bill benefits to help pay for it also.
Very cool. Excellent. Another question that's come in is if you can talk a little bit more about kind of the clinic experience, some of the CISSP, I think it was CISSP. Was it CISSP prep?
Yeah, we have a CISSP authorized. We are an ISC2 partner, and we offer the clinic that talks about various aspects of passing the exam the first time. So in the
Okay.
clinics, you will see, first of all, exam question analysis. How do you analyze the question to decide how to then pick the answer? And then you have exam answer analysis and coaching about how that works. The next webinar, most people don't realize this, but if you pass the CISSP exam, you don't earn a CISSP. You become an associate. Then you must demonstrate that you have the 4 to 5 years of relevant cybersecurity experience that fully qualifies you for the CISSP. So the sixth clinic shows how you leverage your prior experience and demonstrate that you do have cybersecurity experience. So when you looked at the 4 profiles we had in the webinar, for example, someone who's an IT auditor, they definitely have a cybersecurity related experience. The probation officer also had cybersecurity related experience. So we help these individuals identify and present their experience and show the relevance to the 8 domains of the cybersecurity, the CISSP. And so you have to show how your prior experience relates to those domains. And our faculty who are certified as CISSPs help them do that.
Very cool. And I see many of your partners listed across the bottom. That's fantastic. I know certifications can be a great first step for many individuals as they're looking to kind of pursue a career in cyber.
Well, the certification is the icing on the cake. I mean, when you're an employer, if you sit down with an employer, let's say you have 2 candidates or 3 candidates you're looking at, and they all have cyber experience, but one of them has 7 certifications, one has 2 certifications, one has no certifications. The inclination of the employer is to hire the one with the 7 certifications. So earning 7 certifications, and this is a very unique opportunity because you can have all 7 funded fully for you. And by completing all 7, that's essentially 1 year of cybersecurity work experience in the labs.
Very cool. There was a question that's come in just asking a little bit about kind of the application process. So you shared a couple of QR codes. One, I believe, was for the EQ phase, and then the second was for the scholarship application. Can you just talk a little bit about what sort of kind of from step 1 through sort of the scholarship application experience, what that looks like?
Well, you can actually get the scholarship award decision in about 72 hours if you respond to this webinar. And what you need to schedule, you can do an e-application, or you schedule an interview with a cybersecurity career architect. You're going to have to submit, and I don't have all the list in front of me, but you need to submit evidence that you have a high school diploma, that you have, if you want the Virginia scholarship, you need to submit a Virginia driver's license. And then there's some income eligibility requirements that are fairly liberal. You have to provide some documentation for that. And as I said earlier, over 90% of the candidates got full scholarships so far. So it's not an insurmountable obstacle because Virginia is really looking for candidates who will help fill that cyber talent gap. They want people who are going to come in and do this. But I do want to mention one thing that's very important. This is hard work. Each course, each certification prep is 8 weeks. It's 100% online. And the process is every week you are taking a quiz, practice exam quiz, to show that you have mastered the domain, a piece of the certification domain that's covered by that certification. And we want everyone to get an 85% on every domain to make sure you pass the exam. If you do not get the 85%, then we will give you a remediation plan, feedback, that shows you what you need to do to come up to par to get that 85%. And so then you get an exam. Once you've demonstrated you've got an 85% on all of the domains in the certification, you get your exam code. And that exam code says, we're assessing you're ready to take the exam. So it's a very meticulous process, but the objective here is to get candidates a six-figure cybersecurity job. So think about, if you're an employer and you're interviewing people, what's going to persuade you to want to pay this individual a six-figure salary to get critical cybersecurity risk management job done?
Excellent. A couple of questions, and maybe while I ask the next one, if you can jump back a few slides. I know the audience is requesting to see those QR codes again. I don't know if you can. Yeah, very cool. There it is. Excellent. Wonderful. One of the questions that's come in, and it sounds like this individual is already looking at the assessments. They mentioned that one of the options on the assessment has musician as a skill. They're curious, how does that translate in cyber, as they've stated that they're actually pivoting from the music industry into the world of cybersecurity?
Well, it's a great question. And anyone who's in music, and I will say I'm not a musician. I did take piano lessons a couple centuries ago. But the thought process and the practice, I mean, first of all, practicing is really critical for passing the exam. So if you practice and perfect playing a piano piece or a musical piece, then that's critical for getting the certification. That's one aspect. The other aspect in music is playing in a group, in a band, in an orchestra, and coordinating all the different pieces in a risk management assessment is very important. And so knowing how to orchestrate and coordinate is another skill that's very important. There's also a discipline in music that you must have, and a discipline in cybersecurity is very critical. That's why music is a great background. That's why military experience is a great background, because of the discipline and the analytical abilities you use. When you play a piece, you don't just, play notes. You have to really analyze how to express the music correctly, convey the tones and so forth. Guess what? You have to do the same thing in cybersecurity. So it's a great background, great discipline for cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Dr. Berlin, you've done a great job verbalizing exactly kind of the fit there and the transferable skills, and really highlights, and being a musician is just kind of one of the passions or careers that folks interested in transitioning into cybersecurity, come from. And it's just a small piece of, when we talk about diversifying the cybersecurity workforce, it's easy to kind of translate that quote unquote diversification into geographic diversification, or gender diversification, or ethnic diversity. And sometimes we don't think about some things like experience, the diversity of experience, really looking at somebody coming in with that musician background, and really kind of that paying attention to detail, being able to kind of spot anomalies by reading data, or in the case of a musician, reading music notes. But then also, looking at folks coming into the field from a background of sociology or psychology or law or business, and casting a wider net, and making it a little bit more clear, how the skills that you've gained in, one of your former passions or former career paths can really kind of translate into a career in cyber. Dr. Berlin, I'm having a hard time hearing you now.
Is this better?
Much better. I can hear you loud and
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah, if we've had veterans have received over 50% of the scholarships, women have received over 40% of the scholarships. Interestingly, you brought up law. We have a disabled veteran who has a law degree who's now earning his cybersecurity certifications. And I can tell you that understanding compliance, legal compliance, cyber regulations, cyber risk regulations is a critical skill that you need, and a law degree helps prepare you for that. So again, we are, and employers really want more women in the field. There are only about 15 to 20% of cybersecurity practitioners are women, and they really want to encourage that. So that's why we have such a large number who are getting these scholarships.
Yeah, phenomenal. Another question came in. This is something that you've addressed, but I'll just reiterate it for folks that are catching up. Will this scholarship work for international people too? Dr. Berlin shared with us that, of course, the Virginia scholarship would not work for international folks, but the National Students Scholarship QR code that you see on the screen, I believe, is where they would go if they're international.
Right. But I will say, when you say international students, we have to be careful. If they're international but living in Virginia, they may qualify.
Okay.
It depends on where they live. So it's very hard. The purpose of these codes is to set up that interview so you can have your entire situation analyzed by the cyber career architect, and submit your resume also, because that helps. That's part of the process.
Phenomenal. Excellent. Will this presentation be available from your Brella booth after the fact, the slide deck?
You're asking me a technical question that's beyond my scope right now.
No problem. And what I can say is
I can send it to you, and you can make sure it is.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah. And furthermore, kind of on that note, this session with you, this live session with Dr. Berlin is being recorded. And within 10 or 15 minutes of us ending today's lunch and learn session will be available via Brella. So all of the recorded live stream content is available via Brella for those of you that would like to catch the recording. You're welcome to. I know many of these are busy at work or otherwise maybe in class, and so they'll watch the recording anyways. So I'm sure you'll see some chat traction in Brella moving forward. Yes, the interview is, I love the term cyber career architect. Certainly somebody that can kind of hold your hand a little bit as you're navigating this process and the opportunities provided through SCIPP International. Is it SCIPP or SCIPP? I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
SCIPP,
Okay.
like skipping rope.
Okay, SCIPP International, fantastic. All right, I'm going to scan the chat one more time and just see if there are any last questions that are coming in. And while I do that, Dr. Berlin, did you have any closing comments or thoughts that you wanted to share with our audience today?
Well, I just want to encourage people to take advantage of Cyber Month and apply. We have extra scholarship slots during Cyber Month. And even if you can't start in Cyber Month, but getting accepted and approved would be critical. So I encourage you to do that. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever, do not hesitate to set up an appointment using the QR code or sending an email, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Virginia is eager to close its cyber talent gap and maintain its leadership. It's interesting that Virginia has more cyber openings per year than California.
Wow. I'm sure a lot of that comes from the DC metro area and all of those employers there. The work that you all are doing, Dr. Berlin, is absolutely phenomenal. Folks, as I mentioned, actually, before I get there, those of you that are international or those of you that aren't familiar with Cyber Month, that is October. So we're only about a week out from Cyber Month, as Dr. Berlin referenced in his last response. So it sounds like there are some extra scholarship openings throughout October. So certainly encourage you to check out the QR codes that are on the screen, drop an email. Academics@skippinternational.org is the email address there to get in touch with Dr. Berlin's team. Dr. Berlin, the information you presented today is absolutely phenomenal.
I do have one other piece I don't think I mentioned. When you complete these 7 certifications, you will earn 21 academic credits. towards your bachelor's degree in Virginia. So if you haven't earned a bachelor's degree, this is an added value, and it gives you 21 valuable credits, semester credits that you can then apply towards that bachelor's degree.
Phenomenal. And one more question did come in. Is the scholarship opportunity available for folks that have recently graduated?
Graduated from what?
I would assume an undergraduate program.
Oh, yeah, there's no restriction. The only academic restriction is that they have a high school diploma. So presumably, if they graduated from college, they've got a high school diploma. So no, there's no, anybody can apply. Again, the best thing to do is get your application in, go over everything with your cyber career architect, and find out what it takes for you to take the next step in your cyber career.
Great. Dr. Berlin, this was a phenomenal presentation. I know the information that you presented today is of interest to many, many, many of the folks in the audience, and many, many, many of the folks that will catch the recording of today. I really appreciate you making yourself available to do this. I know you're a busy man, and have recently come back from some travels. So thank you for your support of the U.S. Cyber Games program, and for your wonderful contributions to Ignite Cyber Career Week here with the U.S. Cyber Games program. It's hard to hear you again, Dr. Berlin. Still a little rough.
Still, really.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Picky
Yeah,
microphone.
I want to thank you for all your contributions and how you supported this initiative and got us involved.
Wonderful. Well, folks, certainly engage with Dr. Berlin and his team through their Brella booth. You can find them in Brella under the sponsor tab. If you don't catch them live, as I've shared before, all of the chats will log. So once a representative from SCIPP joins Brella, they'll see all of the messages that they've missed, and they can follow up with you directly. Of course, there's all of the information you need on the screen here just now. So check out those QR codes. academics@skippinternational.org is the email address to reach out to them directly. And Dr. Berlin, thank you once more from the U.S. Cyber Games program. Your contributions to Ignite have been incredible. I really appreciate you being available and for sharing all of this helpful information. The more that we get the word out about these wonderful opportunities, the better chances we have of raising the stakes and bringing more folks into the world of cybersecurity. So thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you, sir, for the information. Certainly, I'm sure folks will be reaching out to you to learn more about your program and all of its opportunities. So at this point, I'm going to steal the screen back from you. You are welcome to stick around, but we're just going to close out on today's session. We have, actually, I'm going to need you to stop sharing, it looks like. Thank you. Wonderful. So folks, just a couple of reminders on where we're headed with the rest of the day. Later this evening, we have our career fireside chat or panel conversation on don't let funding and scholarships stand in your way. Very complimentary to Dr. Berlin's conversation this morning with you all. This will be moderated by one of our technical mentors with the U.S. Cyber team, Ben Crenshaw. We'll have representation from the Last Mile Education Fund, from the Cyber Service Academy, from the SANS GIAC Institute, and from Scholarships for Service. So lots of great stuff coming to you later this evening through this panel. Tomorrow, we'll have a couple of folks speaking during the Lunch and Learn sessions, starting with Davina Pruitt-Mental. She is the lead for academic engagement with NICE and has recently taken on a role with ONCD. She will talk about finding your cybersecurity launchpad, all about internships and apprenticeships. Following Davina, we will have Jackie from Palo Alto Networks, speaking specifically on landing your first internships with Palo Alto. Jackie is a senior recruiter with the early talent and programs with Palo Alto, so some phenomenal conversation to be had there as well. And then tomorrow evening, we will wrap up our Ignite Career Series with a conversation with Katie Boudreau, the Director of Cyber Talent at MasterCard, and Dr. Atik Kao, the Principal Investigator at Nightwing, formerly Raytheon. talking all about their early career opportunities, internships and apprenticeships at MasterCard and at Nightwing Raytheon. So if you have not caught the sessions live, do know that the recordings are available to you, usually within 10 or 15 minutes of us shutting down the live stream. They're all available to you via Battelle. If you have any questions for the presenters, certainly check out their vendor booths within the Battelle platform. You're able to chat with them there. You're able to request meetings there. And if you haven't done so already, Battelle offers what they call a matchmaking tool, which allows you to identify some of your interests, whether that's K-12 education, whether that's higher ed programs, whether that's capture the flags or critical infrastructure, or whatever the case may be. You can identify if you would like to be a mentor. Lots of other options there. And once you've completed that part of your profile, it will automate some recommended connections, including our speakers and our partners and sponsors. So that is a wrap on the Tuesday Lunch and Learn sessions. Thank you all for your attendance. Thank you all for your participation. Don't be shy to continue the conversation either in Battelle or in Discord. One final round of applause for our panelists and our guest speakers this morning. We will look forward to seeing you this evening. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you so much for your engagement. And we will see you later today. Have a wonderful rest of your day and talk to you soon.